Hello again. I wanted to make a video about my predictions that I made end of July 2022 and see how accurate they are. So my predictions are based on macro situations. I don't look at the details. Looking at the details can actually make predictions worse because it's very difficult to judge how details exactly influence the situation, whereas on the whole, a lot of things even out. I won't go into more detail here, but okay, I will go to here's a bit of an introduction on my page. I made a page about it. I will put a link in the first comment and the description. I deal a bit with Sergei Guriev, who doesn't understand Putin at all, which is weird, but I made a page about that as well, and you may have seen the previous video. I talked a bit about other things, such as the time scale, why Putin invaded Crimea in 2014. But let me look now at the predictions. So this is in the past. My prediction from end of July 2022, which I shared, I think, with my friend who's in Russia what was it? Perhaps 1 August or perhaps a few days later, but it's from around this time. So this would be for 3 months from then, which is 1 of 2022. So I predicted gradual increase in prices, extreme increase in goods that cannot be obtained anymore, Samsung phones, iPhones, cars from many brands. This already happened with cars still available in dealerships, but this will become worse, etc. Politically, not much change. And that's correct. The second thing, Russia has been demilitarized to a large degree by then, and it's also correct. Of course, Russia could do a lot of damage, but they lost a huge number of vehicles, quite a few aircraft. Their attack ability was reduced enormously. So I stated in the war, Russia loses more and more men and material and will have to quit or go full-scale war. The latter with inferior weapons and with even higher losses than before, which were already massive, of course. Remember, for example, the crossing of a river where they sent tank after tank and man after man. I think they lost 500 men or so. What was it? Some in that region. Absolutely ridiculous. Complete idiots. But that's not the only thing. It's everywhere. Because of the superior material available to Ukraine and because Russia just cannot make more high quality material because of sanctions. This is also correct. Not everyone would agree that Russia has been demilitarized, but that is really what's happened. They, of course, keep stuff in stock for emergencies or for other situations. So they won't be using everything, but they have been not doing much attacks, rocket attacks, for example. So they want to keep some in reserve, but what they're using is probably manufactured. And of course, you've been seeing the refurbished tanks. I'll go into that also. So they won't have much military material left, and in tanks that is definitely the case. In aircraft they still have a lot, but they don't use them because they are worried they'll get shot down. As they can't get access to Western products used in their equipment, they will not be able to build high-quality replacements, but revert back to new or refurbished old tanks. New old tanks, old style, old technology tanks, and other vehicles using worse optics, slower microprocessors, and possibly bad displays. Maybe they can get them from China, I don't know. But in military position, so this is all correct. You've seen that the Russians have been using old T-62s, T-55s even. So T-62 is from 1962, T-55 is from 1955. Yeah, that's old. And so this happened exactly as I said it would. In military position, the best that Russia will do is a stalemate, but it's more likely that Russia is forced to withdraw more and more due to higher quality weapons available to Ukraine. Actually, so there were two developments, HIMARS 1 and the mobilization in Russia too. HIMARS meant that some things went faster. Mobilization meant that other things went slower. So it's become more of a stalemate afterwards. But in the meantime, it was up to this time approximately. It was that Russia was forced to withdraw. For example, in around Kharkov and Kherson, of course. After Kharkov. Second order sanctions may be imposed by EU, USA to countries selling products to Russia, but it's likely for much later. They can't sanction other countries for doing the same if they're buying oil, etc. But actually what happened was that the EU and USA made a much better idea, implemented a much better idea. Namely the price cap on Russian oil via insurance, enforced via insurance. So let's see. Yeah, end of December 2022, everyone agreed on all the YouTube and TV channels that I've watched in Dutch, English, German, etc. that Russia cannot win. The only ones who disagree are bullshit channels, troll channels such as Redacted, Hindustan Times, which is one of the worst garbage channels ever, possibly WION. It's also a Hindustan Times is from India. WION is also from India. That's also been quite bad propaganda bullshit and changing their tune a bit, but still anyway. And then of course a few nutters. So Russia could not win. So that was what I already realized April-May 2022, and of course what I state here as well, that the best that Russia will do is a stalemate, so they cannot win, and that is correct. I will not go into this here. This is about negotiations. Negotiations with Russia are a waste of time. Because you cannot negotiate with psychopaths. Now in the past, my prediction from end of July, so this was the second part, namely 6 months from end of July 2022, which is about 1 February 2023. I predicted dissension in bigger cities in Russia because of unavailability of new electronics and much more types of devices. Everything that used to be imported. Further price increases have been going on, as have been going on with non-important things such as food too. Yes, food is also, even if they're made in Russia, been increasing in prices. Pressure on and criticism about the government will that get stronger. It did, but not as much as you might think because of the repressive regime. You can get jail time for criticizing the war. There is continuous propaganda about Russia being a victim on state TV, which is just 100% propaganda. And it's not new, by the way. That was the way I saw it in 2014 already. And before then, there was also propaganda going on quite strongly against Ukraine from Russia. But I will get to that perhaps in another video. I can tell you a story about a woman I knew from Yalta and how she changed suddenly in 2014. She suddenly started criticizing Ukraine about this and that. I thought, what the hell is going on? But that's for another time. I said if Russia doesn't get back down and pay for all damage to Ukraine and more, not just damage to Ukraine, also of course for people who get killed. Yeah, that's pretty bad. And I mean the war crimes that they committed, targeting hospitals, etc. In any case, continuing, they will get more isolated politically and economically. This is true. Nobody's going to buy Russian equipment, even disregarding the sanctions, as it's been completely wiped out everywhere. And Russia is continuing only through accepting enormous losses of its people and material. Who wants to buy material that routinely gets destroyed by a far smaller army? This already happened before the Ukrainians got military aid with better weapons from the West. As I already mentioned, the stupidity of the Russian army, their bad state, also was with that military convoy that got stuck with bad tires and other things. Oh my God, it's just absurd. In any case, one soldier said not long after war, asking if he could swear, "We are lucky the enemy is so fucking stupid." And that's not just about soldiers, but the whole military and the people in Kremlin too. Militarily, Russia will by now be almost entirely defeated. That's what I mean by that, won't have any significant offensive abilities left. So this is for 1 February 2023. What they try, if anything, will be at huge cost to them in losses in people, material, economy. And that's also correct. The Russians have not been able to advance. They've lost huge numbers of people in Bakhmut, for example. Yeah, there was recently a video about this, people not buying military equipment from Russia. Yeah, why would you buy anything if even the people making it can't use it effectively? Then it's got to be crap, right? Yeah, Russia can still inflict a lot of damage, but they're essentially dead men walking, just like Putin. I mentioned that already, I think in April, to my friend who's in Russia. The only issue is, will the West step up with weapons to finish the job quickly, such as long-range HIMARS rockets, rather than a long war of attrition, letting Russia mobilize even more men? The problem is, of course, that Ukraine has been forced into an artillery duel, and NATO doesn't have huge numbers of artillery shells because they don't anticipate that kind of war. What they would do is, like the Americans do, is an attack all forces combined, air, sea, and over land, everything together. You attack any points that you can, so you won't have won't let the other the opponent give the opportunity to fly over your side, for example, and you attack everything at once, and it gives a lot more effects. All right, I will include now also predictions from a talk in August in Zhytomyr in August 2022, and one of my emails. So I was in a hostel and I talked to various soldiers, and one of them asked me, because I said I was sure that Russia could not win and that they would almost certainly lose. I was not looking for a frozen conflict. I don't think that will only happen if the NATO allows it for some reason, such as being scared of Russia using nukes. So he asked then, what about Crimea? I said next summer. So this summer, I think Ukraine can liberate Crimea. And I will go into a little bit more detail here. So this is an email. I discussed a few things with a reader of my bike sites in February, and on 8 February I wrote this in an email. This is the important part. So analysis from macro factors. Exact time frame can vary. It could come sooner, so this liberation of Crimea. If Ukraine breaks through Russian forces in the Zaporizhia region, then it will likely all come crashing down for Russia in weeks, as happened in the Kherson and Kharkiv regions. Then Crimea will follow not long later. Another option is Russian forces crumbling from new or incompetent recruits, unwilling recruits, and collapsing in places. But if it happens in certain places, then you will get a breakthrough somewhere, and then you will get something that I wanted to. That's why I made a video about the Doom game. So I was looking up some videos because I was remembering some comments, and I think that could happen. So that was more than a year ago. I was watching videos about Okuplock. Actually, that was longer ago. That was probably 2 years ago. And some maps from Chillax. I was playing one of them, and that's what the video was about. And I had watched some various other videos. I played others also. And I remember 2 comments, and I thought, these are fun, and it's actually what could happen in in Ukraine. So the third option is a longer drawn out scenario. Even then, there's no possibility of Russia winning. Small wins are nothing more than delayed losses. They will effectively only lose terrain whichever way it goes. They win a bit, but lose so many men that they can't hold it, etc. So here's the one video that wants just Doom 2, Chillax map 12. And someone made a comment, so look at all the enemies and they're firing all at you, but what you're doing is letting letting them all shoot each other. That's fun. I like the infighting. And here someone says at 17 minutes, this is what you would call a target-rich environment. Yeah, whatever. And the second one I wanted to show was Okkupok. And you get fired here from all 4 directions. This is a really difficult thing. At first, when I played it, I thought, oh my god, this is impossible. But you need to figure out some tactics. But the fun comment here was, which I think could apply to Ukraine. Yeah, this guy says, Sir, I think we're surrounded. Excellent. It means we can attack in any direction. That's really funny. So what I think, so at the moment there are some river crossings going on here near Kherson to cross the river. But I think you could get a attack here that splits the Russian forces, and then you may think, well, okay, but if you split the forces, that means they can attack you from 2 directions. But then I come to this. A target-rich environment, you can see it, and we can attack in any direction. I think if there's a breakthrough here somewhere, then the Russian forces will crumble towards both sides. And then it will be quickly over. Yeah. Let's see, what else? And all the dots, by the way, are places where I've been. So if you're wondering, future prediction, yeah, let's not go into that in this video. It's long enough already. So if you find it interesting or want to know something, write something in the comments or write me an email. Bye.